This is New England Soccer Weekly with Tom Quinlan, Nick Giuliano, and Mike DeSilva on 790 The Score.
All right, so with a week gone since we've last talked to you, all we know is this. The New England Revolution aren't moving on in the 2023 Leagues Cup tournament, but a good run nonetheless.
Clapped.
Interesting. Clapped might be a little bit too rough.
I just like to be dramatic.
That's true. We do a little bit of the dramatic here on this show every now and then. Leagues Cup itself, magical tournament that I don't think we'll ever see Liga MX, at least in this version of the tournament again, especially after what happened the other night between the Club America and Nashville SC. Just constant drama, constant chaos, constant fun. The magic of Leagues Cup. But it's not fun if you're a New England Revolution fan right now. Not because you got bounced out of Leagues Cup, but really because you don't know the future of the rest of 2023. Mike, Nick, guys, how are you?
What's up, Mikey? How are you?
Feeling good. I do wish I had my shades back on. Last week was one of our most viewed videos on YouTube.
You think it's because they couldn't see
I think
our full faces?
Yeah, the shades. The shades did something.
People said when people watch this show, and sometimes it's just hard to, we're one show, but people like to be able to turn this show on and be able to see something new.
Yeah.
So that was something new for them to see.
Damn, I kind of wish I brought them back.
That's
different
okay.
shades every week.
We could have made it that many shades to be able to do that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I only have like 2 pairs.
So,
yeah.
Plus, this is serious Tommy today. Tommy is serious.
Oh, no. He put his shoes. Listen, he put his shoes back on.
Yeah, I don't know.
When the shoes go back on, God only knows what's going to happen from here on out.
If we do a show next week, we'll end up doing the hot dog thing next week. Yes, I still have to pay off that bet.
I know.
I get it.
I'm partially at fault there.
Yo, people are still chirping you for that, huh?
You know what? They're not going to give it up either.
Well, you make a bet.
You make a bet, you got to pay the bet. The problem is that we live where we work in East Providence, and I don't feel like driving over all the way to Providence to go get a fresh hot dog.
You getting some condiments on there, or are you just going straight?
Anyways, Querétaro moving on past your New England Revolution, who get a
naked dog.
They finished in a 1-1 draw. Richie Williams is 2 draws and 2 matches now as your interim head coach for the New England Revolution. But you fall on penalties 4-3, and that was the worst penalties performance I've seen this team have ever. I mean, that was just pathetic. And I think you just got that gut in your feeling, that pit in your stomach feeling when Nacho stepped up. I mean,
well, he had the worst body language of all time approaching that penalty. He could not have done something less.
But regardless, I think for you to be able to at least get a tie with everything that was going on there, you have
two of your top players,
Carlos, you have no MVP Gustavo,
out,
you're relying on a horrific Giacomo Vrioni, which again,
that's overstatement, but it's fine.
What did he do for you the other night?
No, he did not have a great game last game. But
it also has to do with
put that adjective in front of it.
It's just because this is because everybody wants to come at me. Oh, Tommy, you got to show Vrioni some respect. Oh, Tommy, Vrioni scored against all these teams. He scored against garbage teams this year. And when your designated players are out, and you need your star to step up and at least try to make somewhat of an impact in this game. And yes, you don't want to play into the designated player.
And it's not even that.
That's not even the point. That's not the point.
It's a striker is not responsible for creating plays.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't have the opportunity.
The ball was not presented to him.
There was no midfield play because of the 2 players.
They scored on a miraculous shot. They had good possession around the box.
Querétaro did.
But that's what I'm saying the Revolution scored an incredible shot.
And what happened with how do you say it? I'm sorry.
Querétaro
is that once they went up 1-0, they're a defensive team already anyway. The broadcast talked about it the entire pregame throughout. You go up 1-0, you're able to sit back more. They had all these players behind. They were double teaming Giacomo Vrioni because he's the lone striker. They had no one else they had to worry about.
Didn't have to do much defensively.
And on top of that, you don't have your playmaker where you went on a 10-minute monologue last show about Carlos Heel. You can see what it's like without him on the field.
Remove him from the game and see what happens.
What I said was that he wasn't great. I didn't say that he didn't belong on the field.
Let's not stray from the point here. The point is that Vrioni and everybody, find any class striker, okay? And I'm not putting Vrioni up there with some of the top strikers in the world. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you take any striker on any club and you remove their playmakers, their number 10 behind them, and another striker to play off of, and you're removing about at least 50% of what they can provide. Because what is he going to do? He can't go. Did you see the starting lineup that I saw? Because I didn't see a lot of playmakers on there. I saw about 4 defensive midfilders.
And you had 2 players that just joined the team.
Exactly.
As
I
well.
just don't see any. I don't see any. I don't know how you could defend his performance the other night and think it's just not.
It's not necessarily defending it. It's just being reasonable.
Yeah,
it's
what
not like
what your eyes show you. Did he not score? Yeah, you want to take it there every week. Fine.
It's not about even him scoring. It's about even him creating some type of
but you
problems
use the
in the
word
box.
horrific before his name. You don't
because it was a horrific performance. Take the situation.
I don't think it was
with
horrific.
Juwan Jones in the first half, where Jones heads the ball. Hits crossbar, great ball by Emo. And by the way, Emo didn't have a great night either. I don't think Vrioni had the worst night of anybody on the pitch, but we starting with Vrioni.
You're going with a rebound off a crossbar?
Yeah, your job in that situation is to finish that. You're supposed to be situationally. You're supposed to be in.
It's hard to
get
momentum.
Pick that ball up and finish it.
That's not the example you should have used.
That's one of the first examples I used.
Not wrong. The one, if you want to use one that he should have made, it was the last play of the game.
Yeah, you could get there.
So you want to do that?
There.
I'll agree with you there. You want to call out a striker for a rebound off a head ball that went off a crossbar?
It's the entire night in the totality of it. He wasn't moving to create space.
That's not true.
Querétoro's not a great team.
No,
You're talking about their defensive performance here to this morning. Their defensive performance throughout the Leagues Cup really. I mean, they haven't played that.
How many goals
difficult
did
teams.
they
played Tijuana. They gave up 5 against Philadelphia the first time, and that was on Philly's field. They played Pumas and they played Tijuana, teams that they're used to playing on a regular basis. So
I love how passionate you are about this Leagues Cup, where it's like 2 weeks ago you said it didn't matter.
But that's not the point.
Well, the point is that
you're talking about the Leagues Cup now. Now you're straying away from the team.
The team wasn't the team.
And also, you saw the team that started that game.
Not the team.
And I think you had another take in our group text where you said something like, this horrendous, or this game's over, or whatever, and they continue to force penalty kicks again. It's neither here nor there. But I don't think that you can necessarily hark on the fact that Vrioni was at times non-existent, because that's what the striker position is. Okay, you're not responsible for going back and creating all the opportunities and counter-attacking. You're supposed to be up there moving around, playing off of other guys, making runs, diagonal runs, opening up the defense a little bit, and making room for your playmakers, which they had none on the field. There was no playmakers on the field. You take away Carlos Gil, you take away Gustavo Bo, who are 2 of the best players. Them 2 and Juwan Jones are the 3 best players on that team in creating chances on one-on-one opportunities, give and goes, finding space, switching the ball. They didn't have that. They did a really good job moving the ball laterally around the box.
That's what the defense wanted them to do.
And that's what they wanted them to do. They didn't have one person that can make one guy miss and play a ball and present it into the box frequently and create those chances. I'm sick of seeing people online who clearly don't know the game. People want to talk about us and say oh, what experience do they have? Or like, those are the people that clearly do nothing but sit on the couch, put their hands in a bag of chips, and don't understand a game of soccer. If your mentality every single week and your takeaway every single week is to watch the Revolution and take their one player from the field, who, by the way, has produced, and with all odds stacked against him because his own coach wasn't giving him opportunities and took way too long to put him on the field and put him with the right people.
Facts.
And Gustavo Bo was taking his time getting back in full swing with this team. And you had Carlos Gil, who's been phenomenal this season, finally being able to find him. Why are we focusing on the negatives on a team that is not even your real starting 11? It just makes no sense to me. And it's just being mad to be mad. People around here can't have nice things, and it's just so upsetting. It's
because that's a game you should have won. At the end of the day, Querétaro, you should have not.
But when that starting lineup come out, Tom, what was your reaction? Do you want me to pull the text up?
My reaction was that it's not going to be great, but you saw the way that first half played out. And
okay, so why don't we talk about the goal that they gave up?
45
why was he so wide open? Why was he able to sneak in there in between 2 of our center backs, right? And just completely tap in this little header, caught Petro off guard. Not Petrovic's fault. He came out and you should not get beat inside like that.
Was kind of saying that it was his fault.
It was not his fault.
It was not his fault.
You do not allow somebody in. That's like basic day one soccer on defense. And no disrespect to Romney, no disrespect to Farrell, but you cannot allow a guy to waltz in there, not even get a body on him, and allow him to redirect the ball into the net like that. Those are the things that we should be focusing on. Why is it that easy? Why is it the counterattacks where Petrovic has to stand on his head like he's been doing all season? Why aren't we talking about that? Why are we focused on Giacomo Vrioni?
He did that again.
It makes no sense to me.
Petrovic made like 3 or 4 saves. That game could have been blown
It would have been a 4-0 game.
Yes.
We wouldn't have gone to penalty kicks if it wasn't for Petrovic saving their ass again. Why aren't we talking about the counterattacks where it seems like they're just walking down, 4-on-3s, 5-on-4s? Why aren't we talking about that? Why do you guys, and hashtag any Revs, just have this, I'm trying to think of a term that I can use actually on the air, obsession with Giacomo Vrioni? I don't get it.
They did the same thing with Buxa, Mike.
The same thing with Buxa. And I was a part of the Buxa hate at first, but I was able to admit when I was wrong.
So if for Vrioni, right, if you want to talk about that last play of the game where you miss it, absolutely have to score. You want to talk about him being dispossessed, trying to hold up, trying to find somebody. That happened 50-50. He did some great things coming back with the ball, dispossessed. If you look across soccer, that happens all the time. This fixation that you and the people that Mike are talking about, it's wild to me because I just don't see it. If I saw it, I wouldn't disagree with you every week.
He was also asked to do something on Monday night that is not his job, and it's not his specialty. His specialty,
why is he here?
What do you mean? Why is he here? That's not his role.
You could take, but so
when
you took Carlos Gil off the team, go through the MLS, find their number 10, take them off the field, see how that forward produces.
And it's like that. It's like that in every league. It's like that in every league.
That's why it's like a goofy take.
Look what Messi has done for that team. He's making their wingers and their strikers look world class. That was a team that was in last place the majority of the season. Now you take away your most important player, your creator. Right? There's a reason why that's the most important, at least attacking position on the field.
Nobody's denying that Carlos missing was a big factor, and nobody's denying that Giacomo probably wasn't the worst one on the field the other night. But at the end of the day, you need your stars to step up.
You can't call him horrific then. You can't tell him that
I could absolutely call him horrific because I'm going to go over the top. That's what we do. We do dramatics here. That's what we said at the top of the show.
I get it.
Continue to call him horrific until he proves me wrong.
I mean, this is where we're just going to continue to disagree because
which is fine.
This area, right? New England, we hold players and we hold in every sport, we hold them to a higher standard, right? Because there's just an expectation to win here. The Revolution have a storied history in the MLS or in MLS rather, and they've been here since the beginning. They've had their chances, they've fallen short. But when you have, and there's been seasons that have felt like complete waste. You feel like sometimes you're a stranger in your own home playing at Gillette Stadium. So why is it that when you have something good, right? And I get the off-field stuff right now can be distracting, but you come off of a win that you had last week amidst all of the controversy and all the off-field things going on with Bruce and going on with Petrovic, right? And you come back and you decide you're going to put out that lineup. Carlos Gil's banged up. Bo's banged up. They showed you something because they didn't again, for the second game in a row, they didn't allow a team from not even in your league to come in and embarrass you at home, right? They showed something. They forced penalty kicks, which they underperformed there. But
they really dominated probably the last, I would say, 30 to 35
100%. They were knocking on the door.
Yeah. So there was some good. Again, it's a tie and you lose in penalty kicks. And I know it's the end of the world for a lot of people, but there's actually some positives you could glean.
I think that we should be focusing on the positives because I think this tournament, we weren't sure what we were going to get. We saw how they handled the Open Cup. They didn't take it serious. Maybe that was lingering in the back of Bruce's mind and in turn Rich Williams, and they've carried it over into this league's cup, right? With how they've presented themselves. I think they showed you a lot in this tournament, and I think allowing now these guys to get healthy and to come back, and how many days until the next game?
Next Sunday. Not this Sunday,
so
next Sunday.
Give or take 12, 13 days, whatever it is. And you're allowing your guys time to heal up, no pun intended, and to come back.
Ooh, is that the pod title?
Maybe it is. Time to heal up.
Heal up.
And we should be focusing on that. It's as much as we don't think it at times. Like Matt Polster liked our tweet last week. These guys are paying attention, and we're responsible for that in that mentality. I think that we need to be better as a community in focusing on the positives of this team. Can't always all be sunshine and rainbows. I get it, but they showed me a decent performance on Monday, and we were very positive about the performance they had last week. Let's just focus on that. There's enough negative going on.
That's a team you should beat. That's not a good team. And it's disappointing because you should be in the Final Eight today. I'm sorry. The reason why Querétaro...
And if you had your full starting lineup, maybe you do.
I don't even know about that. You have Ema and Noel out there, and those were the ones that I thought actually had the worst of the night.
If you had... Wait a second. If Heel and Bo were in there, if you had the starting lineup from 2 games ago, they wouldn't have won that game?
You had Harks, Ian Harks. No disrespect to him, he's been good since he's been with the team, playing at the number 10 position.
I thought Harks was probably one of the guys that had one of the better nights.
He had a good night, but he's not playing. He's playing outside of his position.
Right?
Yes,
He's not.
He's new.
And you had Noel
their
Buck.
goal was to force the ball to the outside to Noel and Ema, that entire offense that night.
Essentially, you're playing with 4 defensive midfielders. You have Mark Anthony Kay, Matt Polster, Ian Harks, and Noel Buck all playing in your midfield. And essentially, you're left with Ema Boateng and Giacomo Vrioni as your 2
defensive midfielder in your mind.
He's been playing next to Matt Polster all season.
I mean, he's been out on the right too. I mean,
he leaks out there at times, but his starting position is to play next to Matt Polster at a defensive midfielder.
I don't remember them playing with 2 and 2 holding.
They've been playing there.
I mean, he might sit back more and to prevent those counters, but he's
been playing
forward.
there. Anybody's playing next to Matt Polster is essentially sitting back a little bit further, and they're kind of the first. He's kind of distributing the ball to Carlos Heel in that next level of your counterattack.
Now, so 2-striker formation, Noel's your right midfielder. And even in a 1-striker formation the other night, he was your right midfielder.
I also think when Carlos Heel's on the field, the formation kind of goes away. So I think Noel is more central because Heel's floating all over the place. So maybe it looked a little
And he's
different.
naturally, again, do you want Noel Buck playing on the wing? You're looking at this in comparison to when you have Bo out there and you're playing with a more attack mindset. But essentially, you're playing with 4 guys who aren't looking to be creators on this team, and then you're left with Ema Boateng, who had a really bad game, and then now Giacomo Vrioni is just kind of trying to make the best of a situation that he was given.
Yeah, and again, 2 guys that just joined the team ask a lot. But one of the things you just brought up that we can talk about, there's not much to discuss because you saw it, is that wing play, the ball's in the box, which is something that this team struggled a lot with last season, came to fruition again. I think they were just players that were trying to do too much, and that ball in just doesn't work. 1 with the players on the field, but 2 with, especially once you go down 1-0, that's what they want you to do.
They want you.
And how did the Revolution score? Quick touches, 1-touch pass into Esmir, who turned around and hit a shot.
Came out of nowhere.
But that's how you beat. That's when you're down 1-0. When a team is playing that's how you have to do it. It's not keep spraying balls in the air in the box. It just doesn't work.
And to use the example to further, prove our point about Carlos Heel last week is, remember the goal that he assisted on both last week, the first one. He makes a move. He made 4 guys miss with the same move.
Yeah.
Nobody on the field on Monday was doing that. Not one person.
Okay, and
he did that in the box.
So here's what I get out of
4 guys are focused on him. Nobody else in the league is getting that.
Here's what I get out of the last 15 minutes here. Without Carlos, this team's not going anywhere.
No, and we've said that from day one. We've said that from the very beginning.
So that means your star striker Giacomo Vrioni is part of the problem of guys that can't produce when your star midfielder's not out there.
No, because of what I said
any striker.
A couple minutes ago. You take that number 10 off any team. You take Acosta off FC Cincinnati. You take Mukhtar off
Almada.
This goes across the league. Go to the EPL. It's the same thing, Tom.
Do you think Giacomakis is better or worse than Vrioni?
I mean, I think they're equal. I think they're as good as the people that are playing behind them. I think it's just essentially, as a striker, your job is to create space off the ball.
And did he do that?
He had nobody to distribute him the ball.
I think he tried.
I think he was moving. But again, he's playing as a lone striker with essentially the ball moving constantly laterally.
I think you're critiquing something that he actually does very well. It wasn't as prevalent in this last game, but one of the things that I really liked about him was his positioning, was his spacing. I think that's why, if you ask Carlos Heel, that's why he likes playing with him too.
Let's use, there was a match in England the other day, Arsenal and Manchester City, and Erling Haaland was nowhere to be seen. You're gonna call him out and say it was because the midfield behind him didn't have a great game. It's just, to me,
or it was lockdown defense by Arsenal.
I mean,
It could be a little bit of both.
Then you could say the same thing.
But Querétaro wasn't lockdown defense. That was a old, slow team that came in here and slowed down the game completely. Like they said it on the broadcast.
But they played into it.
Yes.
So essentially, it worked.
Yes.
They played into it. The whole team.
The whole team.
Right.
So now when you're putting in the ball into the box, doesn't mean it's productive. You have to have a guy that can go in there and create and make people miss. And then when you have 4 guys focusing on one person like Carlos Gil does, look at Gustavo Bo, one of the best strikers in the league when he's healthy, was wide open last week twice.
And by the way, with Bo, you've had the same critique of him in the past too when he wasn't doing it. When Carlos Gil wasn't.
And Rioni makes him better
because Bo, you hold to a higher standard because Bo is a guy that is supposed to take over on the field. He can play multiple positions, very flexible. You know, Rioni might be just a one-trick pony, and that's what it is at the end of the day. Maybe that's what it is. Kind of was with Buxa. But Bo, I held that to that standard because he could play multiple positions, and he could, so.
Did he hit his penalty kick, Rioni?
This one was the nicest one yet.
Yeah.
I don't like the stutter step. I think
it's
that
come back to bite you.
I think that should be illegal.
Yeah,
I don't like it at all.
I thought they did like years ago.
I think I don't. But and we don't have to do this again. I don't.
If
like
I'm a
PKs
goalie, I want to face Rioni.
Yeah. I mean, overall,
we're nitpicking 1-1 game in the League's Cup
where you're missing 3 of your starters.
Yeah.
Welcome to New England Soccer Weekly.
Yeah.
Richie Williams, 2 games in, he's got 2 draws. What do you think?
Again,
what do you think about the moves? I think the substitutions were the biggest thing for the other night. I mean, he's dealing with what he's got to deal with right now in terms of like personnel on field personnel.
I think you just answered your own question. But if you look at the moves, and I know they ended up winning in PKs, but the moves that he made in that first game worked out pretty well. You're a coach. So the good moves, you look great. When they don't work out, what were you thinking? It's kind of tough to do that right now.
But it also ended up, like you said, it ended up working out for him. And in that first game, Carlos gets banged up. How do you take off your best player? Well, first of all, he has to come off, and you have to take him off.
He just walked off.
It ended up working out, and the team played well. I don't think that he's really doing anything necessarily outstanding or necessarily bad. It's just he's been dealing with what he's got.
I like his candor after one of the things that I brought up here was exactly what he said too, and with those balls going in, playing it out, trying to force balls in from the outside, which is something that he said that wasn't working. That I like that he's being a little bit more open with you guys. A little bit.
Yeah, Richie's not Bruce, and Richie's not going to try to play Bruce. I think that's helpful, and I think that might be helpful in the locker room too, because you don't need another guy acting like the guy, right?
Right.
Everybody should have their own personality.
Sure.
I wouldn't try to act like you. You certainly wouldn't try to act like me.
Absolutely not.
And I think Richie's job, maybe for the remainder of the season, is to just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
The system's already set. The team is what the team is. You're not changing this identity in the middle of the season.
And look at the guys you have on this team.
Bingo.
You got Andrew Farrell.
Matt
you got
Polster.
Matt Polster. You got Carlos Gil. You got Gustavo Bo. You got some of the even some of the other guys that have been here a few years now. Tommy Mack. Like, you have veterans on this team. They don't allow the Petrovic thing to distract them. They don't allow the Bruce thing to distract them. They have a job to do. They're professionals. They're mentoring these young guys like Buck, and and it's important to understand that
it's a good team. It's a good team, and it's a good locker
But you made
room.
a good point. Is that the structure is there? Okay,
There's nothing to change.
Bruce isn't necessarily like keeping like the glue that holds this team together. He constructed it. He established the culture here. He put together a team, and now
And you have a playing style.
and a playing style, and they're going to show why they've been one of the better teams in the league. I truly believe that. I don't think that this is going to affect them going forward. Petrovic was locked in. That's one thing you can't deny. Maybe the week before, a lot of confusion.
Ooh,
but
man,
Monday,
did he make a few.
my God, was he
made a
locked
few
in.
again.
Dude is a sicko.
And again, I know you want to win, and this is easy to talk about now because they're out, but you look at Carlos Gil going down, you look at what he put on Instagram with his knee, you get back to practice, you had a good showing, right? You took it serious for the most part. You got some new players in that got some reps, so you go back to the drawing board in a good way, 10, 11, 12 days, get those guys healthy, and get ready for Nashville next Sunday.
And who's to say they've forced this, they make it into the final 8, and Carlos Gil goes back out there, he rushes back too soon, and gets banged up even worse. It almost is like best case scenario. You showed that you can take it serious. You battled back in a couple games. You got some of your new guys out there to give them some reps.
What are you going to do?
Lost in PKs. So it's like, all right,
Yeah.
it wasn't our day. And this is during some of the most controversial times these guys have faced. So again, I get it.
That also might be good for a little downtime too.
Yeah.
Take a few days off, reflect a little bit, and get ready to come back.
Square everything away.
I agree that you probably didn't want to, like, even if they were to get past Querétaro, I mean, maybe you shut Carlos down for the rest of the tournament just because you've seen what this tournament has done to other teams, especially you guys. You lose by for the remainder of the year, which you feel bad for him because, I mean, now you're really relying on either Ryan Spalding or
it's not. That's
a three-back
a bigger
set.
loss
Which, by the way,
than we were thinking.
I will say, I'll be positive. Be happy, Tommy, for a second.
Oh, let me sit up.
Ryan Spalding deserves more credit.
I think he filled in well.
I think the thing is that I've talked to some people about is nobody's figured him out yet.
Yeah.
If you're an opposing team, because he's played a lot of time in USL this year. When he was with the Revs, didn't get much burn. Now it seems like he's pretty much your mainstay left back whenever he's he's in there. I think the only thing he's missing is just height. Like, I think that kid is a little brute.
It's going to be interesting when Kessler's back. I think that's what's really going to be an interesting.
Romney, Kessler, Farrell.
I mean, that was their plan initially. I think. Yeah, I think that was their plan initially, and I don't hate it. Nope. I think that's we keep forgetting we have that. The Revolution have that in their back pocket where it's like, hey, we're getting one of our mainstay center backs back who was a starter prior to Romney being here. Throw in your three center backs.
The only problem with that is that if you lose one of those guys, then you have to rely on Omar.
Well, then
do you really want to risk?
But then you just go back. You go back to your four in the back.
Yeah.
But then Omar's your starter though, or McCoon,
or Spalding,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still need a center back in there.
No, Andrew Farrell,
you're playing
Romney. If only one of them gets hurt out of three, you still have two back there.
That's tough to. You can play that game.
Regardless, Kessler coming back. It could take him a little bit to get into the swing of things, but I could see it where it works. So you run those three in the back again. Dewan's able to play a little bit higher. Spalding can play a little bit higher.
Here's the thing about Spalding too is you love the effort, right? I mean, he's getting thrown back in there again. The effort's definitely there. Positionally, I think he's still trying to work out where he's supposed to be on the field at times. Also, the on-ball decisions as well. But overall, again, he's not doing anything to detract while he's out there. That's what you want to see with someone. And he's a professional. The more minutes he's going to get, the more he's working with Romney and Farrell in the back, the better he's going to get.
Yeah,
just like
they got to tighten up a little bit back there.
I think so.
I think these last two games, a little bit of Swiss cheese defense back there, and the opposing teams are finding those lanes a little bit too easily. Even if they're finding them, you got to get a body on them. I feel like sometimes there's too much space where they're able to receive the ball and kind of look around a little bit or wait for guys to come up on the counterattack. That's one thing defensively I'm really finding with this team. I don't know if it's because there's too much attack focus, right, where Dewan is playing up a little bit too high, or even Matt Polster is up a little bit too high. But it's scary.
That goal, too, was a classic case that we've talked about all the time of the 5-minute rule, right? I mean, the full 90 is important, but if you take the first and last 5 minutes of each half, that's where your mental really is tested, and coming out of halftime, they were not ready to play.
Professional soccer, you can't be half a step late, and I don't remember who was closest to that play, but there was way too much space there. You got to be right on that guy and not allow him to get an easy flick.
It was a multiple... It
started from the
mistake.
Yes.
But you're right. And there was no. Again, I used this last week. The accountability from the center backs. Someone's got to take accountability for that runner going
big
through.
time.
You can't just
get a body on him.
Yeah.
So the other thing to mention here that is important is that there's a chance that New England might not be playing Nashville next week because Nashville's still in Leagues Cup. They move on versus crazy penalties versus Club America the other night, where the Club America fans are pretty much an embarrassment, no matter how angry you are. So it'll be interesting because there's a chance the Revs might not be playing until August 26th, where they are on the road against Montreal. So if Nashville continues to move on into a Leagues Cup here, and they end up playing in the finals, which is on August 19th, that game's not happening on the 20th.
Oh, so they move it?
They move it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean...
So a schedule that's already kind of packed could become more packed.
So who's Nashville playing next?
Minnesota.
So we're rooting for
and that's
Minnesota.
and that's a home game for Nashville. I mean, we're talking about one of the better defensive teams in the league this year. Minnesota got a nice win versus Toluca the other night. Reynoso, really dangerous player. But I think Nashville's refining themselves here in this Leagues Cup. Like, this Leagues Cup was really good for Nashville. After they had that really bad loss to Toluca, they have figured it out here. So, I think...
Shout out to Leagues Cup, man.
Magical. Just a
magical tournament. And a lot of the Liga MX teams have found themselves in some controversy. A lot of very, very aggressive. We'll just leave it at that. Very aggressive.
There's no need
teams.
to throw stuff on the field.
But
it's not Mexico.
True.
Mexico, they do that. That they throw stuff on the field constantly. Ask Landon Donovan about getting hit with a pea bag.
I remember that. But I will say this. Their travel schedule sucks.
And that, you know what?
That's brutal.
And
I'm
that's
sorry.
where if I'm Liga
Home
MX,
teams.
I'm not
Home
doing
teams.
this.
Home teams.
I'm not doing this next year.
They could not be in a more at more of a disadvantage.
We'll play your goal
Was it
scoring song,
Monterey?
though. We'll play this goal scoring song. Don't worry about it.
Was it Monterey? I forgot what I saw somebody tweet today. I wish I brought it up. The travel that they've had in this tournament is absurd.
The West Coast is absurd because Monterey, they were playing in Salt Lake, then they go up to Portland, and then they were down in Houston.
Yeah, like all within 2 weeks. Like, it's just like they're constantly on the road. It's brutal.
So if we're talking League Cup, we got to talk about Messi. I mean, it just keeps winning.
Yeah, I mean, if
you want to talk about magical, I don't know about the tournament, but it's incredible to see him.
Fun as hell.
In that uniform, in this country, what he's doing, billion eyes every time he takes the field. It's awesome.
It's fun to watch, man. It's been such a joy.
They're going on a run.
Yeah.
You know that team is going on a run.
You got to have confidence that they can.
And you want to talk about a team, I'm not saying you're wrong about Nashville, Tom, but talk about a team that needs the Leagues Cup and that's coming together. That's the team right there.
Well, the other team, too, that's had a great Leagues Cup and is figuring it out is LAFC.
Yeah.
The Leagues Cup has been good to some teams. So
they're able to let their hair down a little bit and kind of just you get out there and not be afraid to lose, really. I think that's what it is teams are regaining their confidence because at the end of the day, they're like, this is a new tournament. Not who cares, but like
we just watched the Open Cup. That's why I think we maybe had that little taste in our mouth.
But to them, it's like we could continue to lose ground in the league, but here we can't. But we can regain our confidence and play well.
So Monterey, 5,618 miles over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nights.
Jeez.
And their fans travel.
Yeah.
Like the Monterey fans have been very good in traveling. Especially, obviously, the closer you get to the border, it's easy for Monterey fans to travel and whatnot. But
that's some dedication right there, man.
Yeah, 5,600 miles in five different cities. So
flying is the worst.
Oh God, I
hate imagine.
It. Yeah, no, and then having to play a game and get reacclimated.
Tough. But that's their job. You sign up for it. Professional
it's their job.
Soccer.
Yep.
It's been fun.
I gotta say this about Messi though. Just one more thing. I know he does those free kicks all the time.
Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. I did this to my friends in our group text too. That to make a free kick like that is so incredibly difficult, and it looks so effortless. I know
crazy.
He's been doing it for decades, but again, to just continue to watch this guy,
the whole team in the net,
in a moment like that, from a position like that, dead balls are made for you to fail. Those dead ball free kicks are made for you to fail because everybody is set up, and he just finds that little space in the net. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's
with
awesome.
pace too.
All right,
exactly.
Wild.
So where does that leave us here with the New England Revolution in Bruce Arena? A week later, we don't know, and I can tell you with certainty. At 11:17 a.m. on Thursday, August 10th, 2023, players in the locker room don't know. I talked to some people yesterday. Nobody knows. This thing has been left to speculation. It has left a team up in the air with what the future of their coach is. And it's another week that's come and gone where MLS can comfortably just sit back and just let this investigation go. This would not be acceptable in the NFL, in the MLB, in the NBA, or the NHL, especially when we're talking about a coach to the degree of Bruce's level.
Right.
We're not talking about a rape case.
Yeah.
We're not talking about sexual harassment. Doesn't seem like we're talking about racism. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, boy.
We're talking about inappropriate comments. The bar has been set there. So what are those inappropriate comments? And why does it take so long to get these
all of those
comments?
things could fall under that category, though.
We don't know.
If it was
we don't
sexual
know.
in nature, wouldn't it be more sexual harassment?
I mean, we don't know. We don't. And
If it was racist, wouldn't it be more descriptive in that context than inappropriate
I
comments?
just think we don't know, and the inappropriate comments could fall under all of those categories. So we'll leave it
I
at
think
that.
in the context of today's world, yes, but for the bar that they're setting, and now that you have the Kaylin Kyle incident the other night where she's got to walk back her statements, where she originally goes out on I guess it's a Sirius XM FC show, says it was Bruce is being investigated for racism. She's got to walk that back. Okay, doesn't that kind of knock it off the list?
We don't know.
I think your larger point obviously is valid, that we sat here a week ago and you talked about it. Go back and watch the show. Appreciate everyone for watching. That the larger point of it being a week later and not having any answer from the league, that I don't think we should try to quantify, qualify, or guess at what it is. But that point, I think we can talk about why has there been no answer a week later?
we should have some type of answer. I think obviously any sensitive conversation, any sensitive comments that are made, regardless. I mean, inappropriate comments could fall under the sexual harassment. It could fall under anything. It just is what is deemed in that moment as inappropriate. So I don't even want to begin to speculate. We don't know him outside of what we see on the sideline.
We don't know what the comments are. We've heard a million different things.
We don't know
I hear
anything.
stuff constantly. I don't run with it because it's
But in this instance, you want obviously a thorough investigation from all sides. But for what the statement alluded to this being, it seems like
set a
7
low
full
bar.
days. Well, it shouldn't take 7 full days to render a decision.
Right.
So maybe the statement didn't give us all of that information either.
if you're a player, wouldn't you want to just get past this?
Of course. But you know what? I also think that as professionals, they're probably just going about business as usual. They're not going to go out there. They're not responsible for defending their coach. We don't know how far this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what it's going to be. If it's going to lead to not a trial, but like, is there going to be charges? We don't know. We don't know anything. And
It doesn't seem like it's a criminal investigation, or it doesn't seem like it's going to get any further than further into a legal investigation as of right now.
And we don't know where it's going to go. I do think there could be better communication from the team in regards to what the update is on it.
But the team doesn't know.
You mean
It's
the
the
league.
league.
The
It's a
league.
league.
Oh, I'm sorry. The league. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean the league.
The team is
The league.
the team is left in the dark here.
I did mean the league, yes.
Here's what I'm thinking. The longer this goes on, this I can speculate on. Did this even happen in New England?
It's a good question, and we don't know who it happened to. We don't know if it was an official. We don't know if it was a camera person. We don't know who it is.
This is like Groundhog Day, because on the show last week, again, go back and watch it. We said all of these things where we don't know, so we're reacting to just the statement.
Maybe it's something that happened in public.
And now it's a week later, and we still there's been no other, besides the statement from the league. There's been no other information out there.
Feels like it. The longer this goes on, it feels like it's an incident of something that happened pre-New England. And the reason why I feel so comfortable in saying that is that if it did happen in New England, you figure you would have heard maybe more from the team in doing their own investigation. Because I said it was either last week. Yeah, it's been last week. Last week I said it's a 3-pronged investigation. The Crafts, HR, and MLS. It just might just be an MLS investigation.
Could be. And I think at this point, we're hoping, I guess, that maybe they're so wrapped up in the League's Cup and everything that's involved with that they're not putting as much focus into the investigation.
That would be wild.
Well,
that would be
good.
crazy.
I don't know. Otherwise, why wouldn't we have any type of update almost 2 weeks later?
We're saying this a lot. That I don't know.
I see this becoming a Friday news dump situation.
Could be.
I see it 100% turning into a Friday, because you would figure for a situation like this with a person like that, you would have more answers now. Now we thought, for what it's worth, I thought we got more answers earlier this week.
How long did the Berhalter investigation go with the U.S. Soccer? That was a few months.
Yeah, but you knew what was going on.
You knew what was
there.
going on because it was public figures involved,
Right.
and they made public statements. But if this is if this is a report or something that was filed or complained by somebody who is not a public figure, maybe doesn't want to be a public figure, they might be doing their best to keep this under wraps. Whereas the Reynas were very vocal about what was going down, and they wanted everybody to know about it.
Yeah, but
Everything.
You would
Yes.
think. You would think with all of the digging around that we're doing, myself, some of the other reporters locally at least, that you would have heard that stuff in the locker room if it had to do with this team.
If it had to do with the
this
team,
franchise.
right? That's my point. So that's why I'm leaning towards, again, complete, just trying to make sense of everything. No knowledge here at all. Just we're talking out loud here that this may be something that happened outside of the Revolution organization, and it was in either another stadium, during training,
Or
whatever.
maybe when it was with the Galaxy, maybe it was when with the U.S. national team. You just don't know.
Who knows how far
There's no
this goes
statute of
back.
limitations on these things. They go back years. People get canceled for things that happened years ago.
Could it be
nowadays.
email? I mean, look at Gruden. John Gruden, something happened with his email. Like it was leaked from 10 years later.
But Gruden, not to get political, but Gruden's, I see being right-leaning, Trump conservative. Bruce, I know, is a lefty loony. He's a Democrat. He's a bleeding heart Democrat. And I can't see that guy being out of touch with today's norms. Is he a pain in the ass? And is he prickly? And is he just miserable to be around sometimes? I'm sure he is. But I can't see him being blatantly stupid. Now, I thought we almost found out that he was blatantly stupid earlier this week, and he still might be blatantly stupid. Kalen Kyle goes on a Sirius XM show, says that Bruce is being investigated for racism allegations. And it just was on that show. Nobody else was paying attention to it. The Blazing Musket gets sent the audio from one of the listeners. They post the audio. Kalen Kyle, 11:30 on
Wednesday night.
Tuesday night, puts out a statement retracting her statements on the Bruce racism allegations. So a couple of things to digest with that. One, would Kalen Kyle have retracted that statement if the Blazing Musket doesn't put out that article? Something to think about. Two, did somebody get into the ear of Kalen Kyle? Now, I just did some sleuthing before. The New England Revolution did not tell Kalen Kyle to put out that statement.
Apologizing?
So there's one of two scenarios that now
I think
exist.
he just misspoke.
I think there's a possibility the league told her to apologize and take it back, or she just completely misspoke like you just said.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to see that she just made this up out of thin air. And I'm not saying that the accusations are true, but I'm not discrediting what she says because she's a league employee.
Yes.
And she is in the MLS offices. We had her on this show as she was getting ready to go into the MLS offices. So we know she's around the building in New York. It's not out of the realm of possibility that something could have been said in those offices and she ran with it. It's part of the story now that you had somebody like Kalen. If it was Andy Diosa, for the sake of the argument.
And it wasn't. Shout out to Andy. We love Andy.
If it was Andy Diosa, if it was Ives Galarsep, if it was Franco Panizo down in Miami, you probably don't get that quick of a retraction, or it doesn't get highlighted as much. Because she is who she is, it becomes a bigger problem for the league, in my opinion, because of how connected she is to the top. She's sitting on set with Don Garber and Jorge Mas in Miami. She's not just a B player within this league.
Yeah, which also, is working a crazy schedule, especially with the added games in the Leagues Cup and their constant coverage, and with MLS Season Pass being something that's almost daily, and you're doing a lot. I think being in this business, we understand it's hard to be on 24/7, and at times you can misspeak. You can speak on something, misremember something. Even sometimes your words get jumbled, and maybe in her mind she was trying to think of inappropriate comments and came up with racist comments, and all of those things are possible. We don't know what her brain or what actually caused it to happen.
And she's a very nice person, by the way.
No, I know. And
you feel bad.
And there's fair
but it's
questions,
part of the story.
There's fair questions to be asked, and it does make the story a little bit interesting. But I also, just in the brief interaction we've had with Kaylin and seeing how she is and how excited she is to be a part of this, to me, she does not strike me as somebody that wants to be the gotcha, that wants to be the newsbreaker, that wants to be the person in the weeds with all this stuff. I think she very much enjoys talking soccer and being on set and having the great cast that she has around her. So not knowing anything further than what we've all heard, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt in the situation and say that maybe she just misspoke, which is why she retracted her comment so quick, because she realized, like, oh crap, I said that incorrectly, because we've heard situations like this time and time again be where, these situations may become racially charged. So she might have just absentmindedly gone there.
I know people are going to roll their eyes at that, but I'm going to say that both can be true.
Exactly.
Both things that are being painted here, it could be a misspeak. It could have been valid and somebody said something to her. We don't know.
Yeah.
No, we don't know. But it makes it hard to believe because of the MLS thing. And secondly, her father-in-law is Adrian Heath, who is very close with Bruce Arena.
Right. So therefore, again, I mean...
so it's like, it does not make this situation any easier. And it makes you wonder, how does this prolong the investigation now? How does this hurt the credibility of the investigation? And at what point, at what point does Bruce have a right to speak out?
I think he's doing the right thing and not speaking out and just letting the investigation happen. I think at times, like, you have to just sit back and keep your mouth shut.
I'm sure there's people advising him.
There's people advising him.
Maybe that's the play.
Yeah.
But again,
Bruce can afford lawyers.
It's not a bad thing to bring up too, because I'm not talking because we don't know what this is still, but the duration we do know. We're counting the days like everybody else. So the longer this goes on, the more things like this are going to happen.
Definitely.
That's just how it happens.
I will say this, as infuriating as the hashtag gets, as we've gone through it in the beginning of the show here, the one thing I can say is that people are being responsible, I feel like.
Okay. That's fair.
I've heard rumors, right? People want to slide in my DMs and say, I've heard this and heard that. At the end of the day, I think, by and large, more people are focused on the on-field product than Bruce. The gossiping of Bruce is one thing. I think, the true diehard people that do what we do and follow what we do on a daily basis are watching what happens on the field. We got a close eye what's happening on with Bruce as well. I will say that if this does end, I worry about the future of the relevancy of this team here in the city, because, the players don't have to go out there and defend Bruce, but Bruce is the face of the franchise. Bruce is the only thing that keeps this thing relevant. And if you lose Bruce and Richie Williams becomes the new face of this team as a head coach and and Curtin Alpha takes over as sporting director, you lost all that luster that everybody that people were coming out for. I like Richie. I like Kurt. It's not a slam on them. It's the reality of the Boston sports market that doesn't know anything else.
Okay, that part, sure, but it is the on-field product that brings people to the seats.
Who created that on-field product?
If they continue to win, but it's a hypothetical show. If they continue to perform and have a deep run this season with Richie Williams as the interim head coach, people are still going to come out. So
as long as they win, yes,
that's it.
Right, that's the key here.
You could say that
my thing is more of a bigger picture type of 2023 is going to be whatever 2023 is. Chancali, whatever he can contribute and how Henry contributes when he comes back, that's one thing. Maybe that does give you enough for a deep MLS Cup run here. But past 2023, the relevancy of the New England Revolution is certainly on the line if Bruce is not back.
We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yes, we are gonna have to wait and see. We don't know what's going on for sure, but that's the update a week.
I think it affects it, and it could affect players coming here and a lot of things. But it's for now. Try to hang on tight. All right. League play will be back shortly for the Revs. Going to get through these next week. Hopefully, there's more answers coming up this weekend.
We gave you an extra bonus show.
Yeah, we gave you a bonus show today, and
bonus show?
No, this is we went long, which is good.
Well, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Shout out to YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube, by the way. Like it, and I want to shout out. We had probably our furthest away supporter, Benny Summers.
L'Haim.
Shout out to Benny Summers out in Jerusalem. Fan of the show. Really appreciate that. That was cool to see that we got fans worldwide.
And subscribe as always.
Yes.
So, listen, there's still plenty of things that we could still talk about with this team. I mean, who's up for contracts next year, whatnot, who should be back, who shouldn't be back. I think we're a long way from that conversation.
Long way from that.
Long way.
We still got football to be played, man.
Let's just see who's coming back first. Let me just do one more courtesy check. Make sure I'm not missing anything of any Bruce news. Because Lord knows we'll post this podcast and all of a sudden everything will come down.
Yeah. That's all right.
But I can say that actually, as we were recording, I did get confirmation that the Revs did not reach out to Kaylin Kyle to have her put out that apology. So,
I think that was just a smart move on her behalf, regardless. I think that's
legally it might be too. All right. Well, that's it for the show this week. We'll see what happens. Oh, wait, Matt Turner, Nottingham Forest. Congratulations, Matthew.
Yes, we love that. He gets a start.
Yeah, he gets
a start in the Premier League. Shout out to Matt.
Now all of England will be able to marvel at Spider-Man Matt Turner.
Petrovic.
Ooh. Ouch.
Maybe that's why he wasn't going there.
Ouch.
That was where he was supposed to go.
Ooh,
yeah.
tough.
It's okay. It's all right. No, we love you guys. We love you all.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Revs on Revs crime.